seja muito bem-vindo, seja muito bem-vinda ao nosso momento de coração para coração. Eu estou muito feliz em compartilhar com vocês que a partir desse episódio a gente vai embarcar juntos aí numa jornada que vai ser uma mini temporada de entrevistas, de conversas, de talks de coração para coração. Desde quando eu pensei assim nesse programa, né, de coração para coração, era algo que estava mesmo na minha mente, sabe? Poder receber companheiros poderosos aqui para compartilhar um papo de coração para coração mesmo. E eu aproveitei a temporada, né, que eu passei lá no monastério da Vivendo Milagres, da comunidade Vivendo Milagres, do David Hoffmeister, lá nos Estados Unidos, em Utah, para gravar essa série de entrevistas que vocês vão assistir a partir de hoje, a partir desse episódio. Então, nossa, eu estou muito feliz. Eu tive a oportunidade de conversar com membros da comunidade, né, da Vivendo Milagres, que são companheiros muito poderosos, muito devotos, né, que dedicaram as suas vidas a esse propósito do despertar. Então, nessa mini temporada aí, nesses próximos episódios, começando hoje, na verdade, vocês vão ter a oportunidade de conhecer histórias muito inspiradoras, ouvir aí milagres, desafios dessa jornada espiritual, a partir, né, da experiência de companheiros muito poderosos. Então é isso, estou muito feliz, espero que vocês possam curtir essa jornada, tanto quanto eu curti gravar. Para mim foi uma experiência, um aprendizado, e eu experimentei muitos milagres, né, gravando cada um desses episódios, e eu espero que você possa estar aí com o coração muito aberto para receber todas essas histórias, essas inspirações, esses milagres, tá bom? Começando hoje. Então, é isso, eu vou deixar vocês então com a primeira entrevista, que é com o Andy, que foi uma entrevista assim muito legal, muito inspiradora. E ao longo aí dessa temporada a gente também vai conversar com a Susana, com o Greg, com a Kirsten e com a Slava, tá bom? Então é isso, vai me contando aí nos comentários o que você tá achando e a gente se vê então nos próximos. Aproveitem. Beijo.
Hi everyone. My name is Paulinha Oliveira and today I'm here with Andy Pejman.
Hi everyone.
We are here at the Living Miracles Monastery in Utah, United States. And it feels so good to share like some of miracles and like inspirations from Andy. And yeah, like that's why we are here, to expand these miracles, and we hope that we can be open heart to receive as we are here.
Yeah, thank you, Paulina. Yeah, it feels pretty inspiring to do a video interview. I recently did like a podcast, and it was like the first time in like a couple of years that I spoke to a public audience, and so it was different, but it was really like expansive, and now it's like a video camera kind of recording. So that feels cool. Yeah, feels kind of like new or fresh.
Yeah, I always feel that these stories are so inspiring. And talking about this podcast, I think I'm gonna let the link here below so you can hear more about Andy's stories. And right, I think we can start, maybe if you can introduce yourself and share a little bit like what are you doing here?
Yeah.
How do you came here?
Yeah, I think I never would have gotten into spirituality if it wasn't for like these panic attacks and anxiety attacks that I got in like early high school when I was like 16 years old. And it led me to find another way. It's more like subconsciously that I had a prayer to find another way, and then these like books started showing up. Like Eckhart Tolle's book showed up in my house, in my parents' house, and I just found it on the staircase, and it was like a miracle because because I wouldn't have picked it up normally, but I felt like inspired or sparked to look at it, and then I just started reading it, and it opened my mind up, and yeah, so it was like many like different stepping stones that came in very quickly after it felt like I had this kind of subconscious prayer for help with these anxiety and panic attacks. And so after the Eckhart Tolle, I talked to my aunt, who is more like into Reiki, like energy healing and things, and I found out she left the book in my parents' house for my mom, but instead I picked it up, and then that led to Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. She gave me like a signed copy for my I think it was like my 17th birthday. She gave me that book. So then, yeah, basically I was in high school, like junior year of high school, I'm like 17, reading the Disappearance of the Universe like 5-6 times, because I really loved it. It was so expansive and mind-blowing that it just calmed my mind, and the anxiety started to fall away. And then that's how I kind of got introduced to the course, through that book, and I ordered the course that year, but that was a lot more difficult for me to understand, so that's why I had to read Gary Renard's Disappearance of the Universe book like 5-6 times to really like absorb the content and to hear about it in a more like funny and light, like simple way, very simple, and because the course felt more like Shakespeare. But then I started reading the course, then it was kind of just in high school, like on the desk, and I was kind of like bored with the teachings in high school, but just reading the course, it was more of like a kind of like intellectual approach. I was like still so scared of really using the workbook lessons, like I would start doing them and do the first 50 and then restart and stop. It's like no, and then restart again, and it was very like lack of discipline with the mind training practice of actually applying the workbook lessons. And so I was reading it for a while just to help calm my mind at first, and then I got into like business for a while. I felt like it was kind of like an ego kind of sabotage kind of thing, because like it was helpful at first with the healing, because it kind of rinsed my mind of a lot of things, and the fear disappeared, and then the ego came in very strong, like, okay, yeah, now your fear is being healed. Now you can do whatever you want in this world. Go do it. And it's like, and then it's almost like, like secret law of attraction. But I kind of burned out pretty quickly. Like I was pretty stubborn. So I spent 3 years kind of constantly going at the business kind of idea. From like 19 to 22, I was constantly, I dropped everything. So in a sense, I think that actually built some discipline, because I focused on one thing, and I learned a lot of new skills and abilities that are now being used by the Holy Spirit for the awakening, instead of for the business and trying to getting something from the world for like a personal identity. Now it's for the awakening. So it all got used, but I was pretty stubborn, but it just kind of burned out after a while. Basically, I got burned out after 3 years of constantly going at the business, and it was very frustrating, because it wasn't working. It was almost like I was spending a couple $1,000s every month on marketing and advertising, and then when I would finally get a deal, it would kind of recover me from the expenses or something. I was always just breaking even. So it's kind of funny, because I don't think I ever really like made an income. It was more like spend a lot of money, gain the money back, spend it. It's like
a
flat
circle,
line,
right?
Yeah, it's like when you're dead at the hospital and your heartbeat goes to, it's like you're just dead, and that's it. There's there's no income, there's no life, so it's not even an up or down, it's just all like a flat line. So yeah, it felt very frustrating, and I wasn't really open to asking the Holy Spirit for help. It was more negotiating with the Holy Spirit, like, okay, let me just play this out. I know I don't really want this, but I'm gonna play it out and I'm gonna do it. And you're gonna have to almost like wait, like this stubborn kind of thing. But then I finally, since I burned out, I got so frustrated that at the end of those 3 years, there was one night when I was like kind of desperate for help. I was like, okay, Holy Spirit. Like, I was going to bed and I was like laying down. I was like so frustrated. I was like, okay, help. And then actually I heard like this thought that felt very like uplifting, like, well, you can just trust me that if you follow my plan, then everything you want and need will come to you on divine timing.
Wow.
And not on your plan, not on your timing. So that was really helpful. That helped soften me up, and I still gave it another couple months at least. I just kind of put that into denial and then kept pushing and crashed even harder the next time. And it was almost like very dramatic or traumatic the next time I crashed, and I was like, okay, I've hit rock bottom this time. I gave up. and then I let go of the whole business idea. And I had so many miracles, and there was a real estate deal that I was even kind of felt stuck with. And I was like, wow, I gave up the business, but I still have this real estate deal. I'm in the middle of this. So Holy Spirit, you're going to have to help me get out of this deal, because it seemed to be so delayed. And there's so many miracles with that one, because I was holding some private thoughts about the deal that I didn't want to tell the person I was buying the house from, the seller of the house. And then finally I opened up to him and I said, hey, yeah, I'm trying to make some money from your house that I'm buying from you, and this is why it's getting delayed. And because he was waiting for me for a while, so I just kind of opened up. And as soon as I opened up and I told him the private thoughts, he was like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then it started to speed up. Actually, the delay with selling that property was like, it sped up. And then all of a sudden, yeah, it ended in this miracle, because I was open to traveling at that point too, because I had just let go of the whole business idea. I was kind of watching David Hoffmeister's YouTube videos like all day long. That's all I was doing after I let go of the whole business idea. But I still had this one deal that was stuck, so I had to, out of integrity, like complete that assignment. But I was watching a lot of David videos.
So you find David on YouTube?
Yeah, because I was watching Kenneth Wapnick for a while, and then in my recommended videos it said David Hoffmeister, and he looked very joyful, but I also thought he was kind of scary because it was so deep. The teachings are so deep that I was like scared to watch him. So it took a couple months to really start to be able to listen to him, but once I did, it felt so profound. It was like really miraculous. So I started just watching him all day, and then it ended up in this joining with the real estate deal, where I wanted to come to the silent retreat here at the monastery where we are right now, the Living Miracles Monastery, but I was still stuck with this deal. And I thought, okay, it's 6 days of silence, that's what the retreat is. So if I commit to this, I'm not really going to be able to make business phone calls or deal with this deal. So yeah, the Holy Spirit is gonna have to help me out with this. So I don't know, it all kind of turned out miraculous after I shared those private thoughts. And then it was like a couple days before I needed to come to the retreat, I already bought my ticket and airplane tickets and everything. Was the deal finished? Wow. Then. And then we were at the real estate office, and the seller of this house, the new buyers of the house were there that I was selling the house to. The old owner lived in Florida, but the new sellers were there, and they were like a couple, and they were like, yeah, this is our first house we're buying, and today's our anniversary. And then the real estate agent was like, oh, today's my wife's birthday. And then for me, it was like, oh, I'm going to a silent retreat in a couple of days, and this is finally complete. I don't have to think about this when I go into the silence and the retreat. And then I got this like big check. It was like the biggest check I ever got in the business that I was doing, and it was the last deal. It was almost like, okay, here's a big celebration. Like, I can't remember, $24,000 or something like that, and it was like a huge miracle. It was like the money came in after I let go of everything, and then that could be used to pay for the airplane ticket, come to the silent retreat, and then continue the journey after I let go of the whole like business idea. So yeah, it all kind of ended in a miracle when I got my purpose straight and share those private thoughts.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing this. I think it's so inspiring and like a huge lesson of letting go and trust, and really experience like this inner guidance and the divine providence. Actually, like this check was like, for me, it's like Spirit saying, like, oh, Andy, you don't need to worry about this anymore. Just be there. Like, give me your mind. And so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Good. And after this retreat, how, like, I think things here, like in the community, happens really fast for you, right? Like, you came for this retreat. When was it? In 2017?
Yeah, that was like October 2016. And then I had a huge mystical experience, like heart opening during the retreat. It was like after a couple days of the silence, it was like this unconscious darkness was like building up. I had a huge headache right here, and I felt like I was getting like sick or something. And then, since it was a silent retreat, on the whiteboard they write like what the next session is, and it's always optional. But yeah, they wrote one evening, what was it? Something healing touch session. And I read the title, I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound very masculine. I was like, that doesn't sound cool or anything. I don't know about that one. But then I think I just trusted and I went anyways. And that's where I had the huge mystical experiences, in the gathering room here, the monastery. And I just cried a lot, and I had a huge heart opening, and I had a vision of that, like I was the son of God and asleep in heaven, and God was whispering in my ear, like, everything's all right, like everything's gonna be okay, just listen to my voice. And I felt the love of God for the first time in my entire life, actually. Like I was dead. I felt like I was dead my whole lifetime until that mystical experience. I was alive. I was like reborn. I was actually alive. Like I felt like I was numb or like some kind of dead walking zombie throughout my whole life until I had that heart opening where I had a lot of tears and emotion, and I felt so much love. And I really had not experienced any kind of experience of the love of God, or any kind of feeling of this is the love of God. I always had like special relationships where it feels like I'm lacking something and it feels sticky, and it's like, it's very like physically intimate, but you don't really feel like fulfilled or content in it. It just feels always something's lacking. Or you get into arguments and then you feel frustrated and you're like, I feel terrible. Oh, let's have some makeup sex and we feel better for a very fleeting moment. Oh, we feel a little bit better. Yeah, the relationship's gonna work. And then the next day, argue. It's like, this isn't really working. It's not like a deep, profound kind of love that I felt for the first time in this huge kind of mystical experience. So then I could really use the funds that I have to promote that, like another experience. What is that going to look like? And then, I went a few months later, I went back to my parents' house and then kept watching David's YouTube videos. And I think I volunteered online a bit with Living Miracles with transcribing. And then a few months later, I signed up for a 6-month devotional stay. It was like a volunteering stay with the Living Miracles community to work on a technology project. It's called Spiri. So I went down to La Casa de Milagros Center in Chapala, Mexico. And yeah, that opened me up to another, like a deeper healing, where there was like a lot of preferences, a lot of things I avoided and pushed away in my life. Like I was facing them as soon as I got down there, like cleaning, all the basic life skills, like all the chores that usually you would do when you were younger or your parents make you do. I didn't have to do any of them because I was so, I don't know, arrogant or stubborn. I would just say, no, I don't care. No, I was so apathetic, like, no, I don't want to do anything. I was so like dead inside that I just didn't want to do anything. So I avoided so many different things. So I get down there and it's like I'm sweeping pathways and doing all these things that I avoided my whole life. So yeah, I was really undoing the preferences and really, undoing the ego in those things that I avoided my whole lifetime.
Yeah, I think this is a good topic. I mean, like, to be, as we were talking before the interview, like, to be very honest and transparent about this commitment, like, to live in community and give our life to, like, a higher purpose. Maybe we can talk more about this, undoing these preferences and the arrogance. And I don't know, I like the story you shared in the podcast about the self-concept about like being a construction to be a builder. Like, can you? Yeah, it's good if you can share more about it.
Yeah, that's what was coming to mind, because the Miracle Voices. On the Miracle Voices podcast, I shared that, when I came to the monastery here, like about a year ago, it's almost like my before the community, I was kind of more overseeing construction workers with rehabilitation of like the properties and then selling the property. And then when I get to the monastery here last year, I'm using like drill guns and hammers and tools, really the basic tools that most people have some kind of experience. I've never even touched. Like, I don't know, maybe I played with, like, I picked up a drill gun when I was a kid, just, that's cool, but never actually did anything, or really like, here's a hammer, but I never actually hit a nail with it or anything, even the basic kind of skills that you do in construction. So when I came here last year, it was a lot of doing those kind of things, actually, because then we had a summer that we called like going green and going clean. So like going green was the form where kind of like putting up solar panels and different kind of like energy efficient things, so that kind of the monastery could be run more simply through like what's already around us. We're in a canyon, so it's like we get a lot of sun in the summer and then get wind, so all these different energy sources to keep things kind of simple and have it kind of run itself in terms of the energy. And then so it was like a lot of support was needed because it was like these huge projects. And then it's like, okay, Andy, here's a drill gun, screw these things in, and it's like the most basic kind of life skills. And I was like, am I doing this right? I don't know what I'm doing, and all this like unworthiness coming up because I felt it was kind of the opposite of my self-image, my self-concept of the real estate professional. No, I oversee construction workers. That's not what I do. I don't do construction myself. And it's like, well, it's because you're avoiding this. So here's a hammer and here's your drill gun. Go for it. So it brought up a lot of like, unworthiness and healing around that. It's really undoing that ego self-concept, and it's pretty like light and fun once I got into it. It's like, oh wow, this is really cool. I really like this drill, and there's something very like satisfying and content and actually like blissful at times when I really went in the zone with it, where I never gave myself the opportunity to even experience that because I was so stubborn. Like, no, I want to be a CEO, multimillionaire, and that's not what they do, or whatever the concept or ideas are about that in my mind had to be undone. Yeah, through these functions, and yeah, it's like a commitment to undo that.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful how like simple tasks can be so profound and give so much freedom. Like, I don't know, I'm feeling to give like a little context for you. I think most of Brazilians don't know about how Living Miracles works, how community works. So it's beautiful because like here like we use like projects to undo this self-concept. So even like simple projects like cooking or building a solar panel, like doesn't matter, like any project could be used for undoing and for having these experiences, like letting go of this judgments and finding the joy like beyond the forms or the projects.
Right? That's it, because it's really like basically it's an attitude we're developing with the Holy Spirit. Like you could say like I had a really like apathetic attitude, like, you know, throughout high school and growing up. It's like the most common thing I would say to my parents is I don't care. Like they would say do this, and I'd be like, I don't care. Can you wash your dishes? I don't care. It was like so like dead and lifeless and apathetic that it's like I don't care. And I was like, or no. Those are the two main things I said to my parents. I don't care, no. I don't care, no. And then I just walk away, and it's like that that is like that's a strong like negative attitude, you know, towards life where you're like pushing things away, you're avoiding, and it's like I don't care. That's like, it does take like you do have to be like passionate, you know, towards awakening, towards the fun and the healing. You know, it can be like Jesus says, like we need happy learners, you know. So I think developing that attitude is really important, because that's how you can be a happy learner, and you can see that the form is not really that important. It's more developing your attitude about, you know, what you're doing, and that it doesn't matter ultimately what you're doing. It's more like, what's your attitude towards it? Do you want to be joyful? Because you have a choice in that. Like I was sitting with David in this building yesterday that was like surrounded by doctors' offices, and there was a psychotherapist office, but we were in the middle of that. It was called the quiet zone, and we were kind of just waiting for someone. Svava was having she had this appointment that she had to go through as part of her like coming to America, and then basically what happened was there was this poster in front of us that said like, you have a choice in your life. David put it on his like Instagram story, but it's like, you have a choice in your life, and you can decide like something like how you want to feel, or if you want a happy life. And I thought that was really profound, that was in a building surrounded by all these different offices, but I think most of them were like doctors' offices, and there's psychotherapists and all these kind of, and then right in the core in the middle was like almost like the desire, you know, there's the levels of mind diagram that David kind of uses, but in the middle it was like, that's your choice. It's like how you want to feel. And that's kind of like another topic, but levelsofmind.com is a really helpful kind of diagram that shows like how your mind works. But yeah, it was like the choices right in the middle. It was called the quiet zone in that building. So yeah, that was really beautiful.
Yeah. And I think we can practice this with these projects and with these functions, because I don't know, like being here, like I feel that I'm invited all the time to take responsibility of my state of mind. Like if I'm, for example, shedding the snow, shedding? How do I say?
Like removing the snow or shoveling.
Shoveling.
Yeah, shoveling.
When I'm shoveling the snow, for example, like I'm inviting, like I'm responsible for how I'm feeling. Like it's my choice. It's my desire. Like how do I want to feel? Like yeah, I think it's a deep practicing that we're doing here all the time.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And how do you feel now? Like with, like, I don't know, how many years you're in the community now?
I think
in the total, like,
pretty much. Yeah, pretty consistently. I've been here for a 6 year. Actually, December 10th was my kind of like my communiversary. So that was like 3 days ago. I just hit the 6 year mark, and there was a point that I went to my parents' house to kind of face some other things. I left for like 4.5 months, but other than that, it's been a pretty much consistent 6 years. And I've really kind of witnessed myself, like, you know, developing out of that kind of like that bad or negative kind of attitude, and getting out of that apathetic mode to more of like a passionate kind of mode. And it's still like being developed when I have like resistance to some functions, like, okay, we're gonna do this, or snow shoveling, or maybe I never liked the winter weather or the snow, and then it's like, okay, we're out here shoveling. But I volunteered myself to kind of like look after or oversee the snow team here as a means to let go of that resistance. So it's more of like a passionate, I want to let go of the resistance and heal, because I want to be a happy learner, rather than just avoiding things. Like, okay, maybe they won't call on me to do any snow shoveling, or maybe I should just like leave and go to some warmer weather, like Mexico or something, or just avoid it altogether. It's like, no, like whatever you resist persists in your mind. So there's no point avoiding anything, because you have to face it eventually. And you do that with Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So it's not like a kind of an interpersonal, like personally facing anything in your mind anyways. It's like, just let the Holy Spirit deal with it. But you can have a passionate kind of attitude towards it, and you want to be a happy learner, and you want to be joyful, because you learn things the best when you're kind of in that happy learner mode. I've noticed you want to learn through a joyful means, and you can resist if you want, and you'll gain the insights, but it'll be like a longer kind of delayed process and very painful. I'm not like,
not worth it.
Because it is a choice to have resistance or not. And sometimes when you're in that dark place, it's like, no, it's not a choice. And so it seems to be like an unwinding from that. But as much as possible, like developing that attitude, it makes things much more smoother for the healing and much more joyful. And I think we really do want to have fun in the awakening. That's why David does these like movie workshops, and he commentates on movies, like kind of like mainstream movies, using them as a teaching device. And it can be really like fun, and joyful. So we can really use the means, and we have like these worship services twice a week, and they're like live concerts, and we got a band down in Mexico, and they're like Peter Kirky's like a new drummer on the band. So it's like things are popping up that feel really joyful and light, and we're kind of just extending the light, like shining the light online, and as a means of happy learning and healing that way. So I think it can be really fun. We just, as much as we can, to not resist the means that are guided for the awakening from the Holy Spirit.
Wow, that's beautiful. This is actually one of the first thing I heard you say since I got here this time. Like, I don't know, I think you're sharing your prayer, like, to go towards the healing. And now, like, I understand deeply what you mean, like, because it like, going towards the healing, like, facing what we need to face is just because we want to feel this passion and this joy and this open heart to the awakening. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's good to hear it.
You.
And it's beautiful to watch you, like, really practicing. It's very inspiring to see you. Like, I didn't know that you don't like snow weather too.
yeah,
and it's been
tell.
like a mind training for me to like I don't know, playing with the snow.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling to end this video talking a little bit about commitment. I feel that it's very inspiring to share about this. Like, how do you feel that commit with, because you were sharing that you have different commitments with the community, like to being here. So how do you feel now? How do you feel that like to really commit with I don't know, a function or a community, like, helps you in your awakening journey? Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, I think when I first got here, there was that 6-month commitment, and that was really helpful because it didn't feel like it had to be like a lifelong journey, because there's this like belief in sacrifice, like, no, I don't want to give up my autonomy and be living in a community for my whole life. And so it was really gentle. It's like, no, come here for 6 months, and sometimes it's much shorter, sometimes it can be like a month that's offered. It's really just what's the guidance, what's the inspired guidance for you. But for me, yeah, that was really helpful. 6 months, and now it feels more like it is a lifetime commitment, in terms of just following the guidance and praying with mighty companions in the community on what does the form look like for my function. And it's not like a personal, like a autonomy kind of thing, and where I just say, like, I decide by myself personally what I want to do every day. Like, okay, well, today I just want to go, I don't know, rent a Lamborghini in Las Vegas or something.
I know.
It's like, no, it's more like a prayer with mighty companions, and you never know. Like, maybe you pray with mighty companions. It's like, yeah, Andy, you go to Las Vegas, rent a Lamborghini. It's like, you never know. So it's not like the form is a good or bad kind of thing. It's more like, I don't decide. I don't have this like autonomy that I can just make personal decisions, because there's mind patterns. It's a very like tricky journey with the ego trying to give you guidance all the time too, because it seems like there's conflicting voices. There's the ego voice, the Holy Spirit voice, and it takes so much discernment to start to learn, okay, that's the Holy Spirit, this is the ego, and sometimes you don't even hear the voice. So then it's like, what do I do with my life? And it's like, that's where, like, the prayer, being prayerful with mighty companions, even if you think the guidance clearly, sometimes it's more about the timing of things. So you pray with mighty companions who have the same purpose as you, and that's what the community is, really. It's just a single unified purpose of mighty companions that come together from all walks of the world, all across the world, and people who wouldn't even like each other as friends in the world, or wouldn't even want to talk to each other. It's like, we have one purpose, so it's unified purpose, and we all come together, and then you pray, because you do have mind patterns that you pray with someone, and then you can really see overcome these mind patterns and see what the guidance really is. And you can have egoic investment in the form. So it's like, no, I really feel it's guided for me to go rent a Lamborghini in Las Vegas tomorrow. I think I need to take the road trip. And it's like, and then you pray with a mighty companion and like, well, what about this other inspiring thing you wanted to do? That actually feels a little bit more light and joyful. And then it's like it brings you back to your senses and you're like, oh yeah, you're right. That was just egoic. That was some egoic thing. Yeah, you're right. I do feel I'd rather do that tomorrow. It's like, the guidance is clear, but if you're on your own, it's like you can convince yourself to do anything.
Yeah.
Ego is very stubborn. So I think that's a huge benefit of living in a community with a strong purpose, with mighty companions. And yeah, especially if you don't feel like you hear the voice for God or anything. It seems to be there's a lot of confusion, but I think as long as you're clear on your purpose, that can make all your choices in your life, and that can start to really make things more unified with that kind of desire.
In the end we are committed with this purpose, right? Sometimes it looks like it's being decommitted about like 6 months or a lifetime or this project, this tech project, but it's like we are learning to commit with one purpose.
That's
beautiful.
Thank you, Paulina.
Thank you. And I don't know if you want to share something from your heart now, or a miracle, or anything you feel to our friends there.
Well, I feel really inspired to connect with mighty companions online. So I think you can look for me on Facebook or social media. I know you have a really strong Instagram account in Portuguese. And do you have English content?
Not yet.
Yet.
I'm this is the first one actually.
Right. Yeah. That's
so I'm
great.
praying about it. Feels like something's flowing in that way.
So you can search me, and I always like to connect with mighty companions online. And if you search Andy and my last name Pejman, Pejman.
I'll put the link here below to you.
I always feel it's really fun to connect and follow others online and who feel like they have the same shared purpose as you, because a lot of our like Instagram feeds or social media feeds can be full of like the past, or like kind of what feels like it might be more garbage in our mind that we want to start like filtering or cleaning up our feeds too. So it's nice to follow other mighty companions, and then we start to see more like a same purpose in what shows up in our social media feeds even. So that feels pretty inspiring. Just follow each other on social media.
Okay, let's stay connected then, sharing this deep purpose. And thank you for being here with us. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you, Paulina. Thank you everyone for watching.